Jujutsu Kaisen chapter 263 just finished up, and this chapter was absolutely insane. We open up the chapter right where we left off, and the domains are breaking for both Yuta and Sukuna. It turns out Yuta somewhat pulled off a hollow purple. It was still big enough to break both of the domains, but even Sukuna says that he did mess it up a little bit because even though it's the ultimate technique, he's using it wrong. Which means we can reasonably assume that the output for it was just heavily reduced. And now that the domain is broken, Yuta is right beside Todo and Yuji once again, and they start to charge Sukuna. Todo says it doesn't matter if we get caught in the crossfire. The moment your curse technique comes back, Yuta, start firing off hollow purples. I'll use Boogie Woogie to dodge them. However, the narrator explains yet again that Sukuna is in a state where he can't easily use his curse technique because his domain just got broken. Which of course means that Yuta is in a similar position and he then collapses inside of Gojo's body, unable to move. Just like how Sukuna's curse technique was burnt out, Yuta's Limitless was now burnt out as well. And Yuta says Rika's no longer occupying this body, so he can't use his copy technique, though we thought he was still going to be able to use Kenjaku's and not Limitless. However, he can use neither one. He says that Kenjaku is able to, but he doesn't know if there was some kind of trick to it because he can't do it and he couldn't find a memory about it. Todo and Yuji then continue to charge Sukuna, where Todo says that no wonder he's the king of curses, because he was momentarily distracted for just a moment as he was worrying about Yuta, and Sukuna took the opportunity to land a black flash, breaking Todo's Vibra Slap. But Todo, like an absolute boss, tanks this thing and just spits up a little bit of blood. And then he hits us with the greatest line and says, "I'm not done hugging the spotlight just yet." And he starts to bang the Vibra Slap onto his forehead to switch Yuji with shards of the domain expansion. Todo had immediately recognized that the barrier wasn't completely gone because the shards were still littered around the area, so he was actually using the Vibra Slap to swap Yuji with those shards of curse energy from the domain expansion. This allows Yuji to land multitude of blows on Sukuna, doing significant amount of damage. And Yuji is yelling out to Megumi saying, "Wake up, Megumi, I'll do it as many times as I need to." And then even better, his soul punches just got a huge upgrade because he's now using Dismantle directly on the soul as well. Yes, you heard that correct. Yuji went from regular soul punches to dismantles that affect the soul. Soul dismantles. And then finally, it's revealed that other people are using Binding Vows. Sukuna says he's employed a Binding Vow to make his soul punches significantly more effective between the barriers between Megumi and Sukuna's soul. He even says that he won't be able to maintain this body if he keeps taking these hits and he will eventually lose. It's gotten so bad that he literally throws up a couple of his fingers and has to ingest them back into himself again because he's losing control over his body. They then exchange a couple more blows with Yuji again using the curse technique to actually chop down the building that Sukuna was standing on top of. And Sukuna says if I simply avoid these blows, then they'll have no other moves to use against me. To which Todo responds by raising the Vibra Slap into the air and clapping it down one more time, but Yuji doesn't actually swap. It turns out what actually happened was Hana either flew in or was swapped above Sukuna's head and starts to use Jacob's Ladder. We then get a conversation between Yuta and Angel about how Yuta's saying that Angel will probably have to intervene at some point. Previously, Sukuna was able to resist Jacob's Ladder because he had a better hold over Megumi, but now that Yuji is landing this many punches and dismantles as well, it's very possible that Jacob's Ladder will be more than enough for Sukuna now. And then we end the chapter with the Jacob's Ladder coming straight down onto where Sukuna was, though we don't see if it lands or anything else. It's a pretty zoomed out shot. Which of course leads up to the fact that we are on break next week, which is why we ended on such a cliffhanger. But this chapter was absolutely amazing, and yeah, Todo was right. He wasn't done hogging the spotlight because this man was the absolute GOAT of this chapter.